the receivable balance is higher than normal at this time of year. And the primary reason for that is an amount owed by the city of Birmingham, which we have been discussing with them and have plans to get that by the end of this month, if not early February. So it's about $5 million from the city of Birmingham, and we'll be working with them to get that. We also expect to receive about $7.5 million in the next couple of weeks from Jefferson County. We get everyone tax distribution from them in January each year. It's about $7.5 million, maybe higher than that, closer to $8 million. So we should be getting that also. So once we get those two payments out, cash balance will probably be around $16 million. Another highlight is budget alignment. Our revenues pretty much tracking what we expected them to at this point in the year. So we're pretty much on target as far as revenues, except for passenger fares. Passenger fares lagging the budget primarily because we did not charge for several, for a couple of months actually, for BRT. That was put in the budget, but because we decided not to charge fares through the end of December, those passenger fares related to BRT that had been expected, of course, did not. Expenses, most expense categories are tracking slightly below the budget, which is good news in most instances. But key is that we still have not been able to hire the number of bus operators that we anticipated at full form. So we're still trying to do that. But if you look at financial statements, you'll see that there's a slight decrease in benefit costs. Of course, we do have some plans in using VIA in some ways in order to make sure that our routes stay on schedule. That may be discussed by there's some upcoming target dates for January. Of course, it's working below W-2 forms issued at the end of January 31st. Our payroll department is working to get that done. Also, 1099s must be issued to vendors by the end of the month. And another slight increase you may see going forward is that effective January 1st, our health insurance from Blue Cross Blue Shield will increase. Of course, if you look at the budget, when we first talked to you at the tree, we thought that increase would be about 15%. Thanks to the directors, y'all, and her negotiating skills, she was able to get Blue Cross Blue Shield to come down to about 4%. And that was also due to us changing the plan. From what we had a very rich plan, which a lot of employees were taking advantage of. Some of the caveats and some of the benefits in those plans. So we adjusted that, and that Blue Cross Blue Shield brother would give us a 15% increase on and I think that's pretty much sums up everything through the month of November. Again, as I said, it's too early to talk about trend at this point, but everything at this point seems to be on schedule. So with that, I'm feeling
Next item on the agenda is a report from the chiefs.
Good morning. I'll just go over a few highlights from our department. In internal auditing, as most of you know, I did mention in our last committee and board meeting that we will be undergoing a training review. BJCTH received their notice, from FTA on November 30th. Our review will take place, likely the first or second week in August. The review will be all virtual. It will probably be, like it was last time, about a 2-week process. But because it is virtual, the way it looks will be a little different this time. Meaning we will start to have, some one-on-ones with our review team, who is led by Alan Stapler, who works with the joint, venture, with FTA. But we'll have one-on-one meetings with maintenance, civil rights, and finance. And that will likely start in April or May, but again, the virtual review will begin in August. And in order to prepare ourselves for the review, BJCTA, and I want to thank the team for participating, has undergone, we are undergoing currently a 3-day training. So yesterday we had some training with FTA Region 4 surrounding grants, finance, maintenance, and some other areas. And our procurement team is actually in the conference room now undergoing some training. Also, ADA Title VI and ELC will take place today as well. And then we will end it or round up tomorrow with safety, and I think we have a few other areas, drug and alcohol, and some others. The board will receive notice in the coming weeks. You receive a packet through Ms. Harville. And the packet will just go over the questions that the reviewers will likely ask you for. We will have a prep session after receiving the packet. So we want to send you the packet, give you an opportunity to review the questions, and then get with you on your schedule so that we can have a prep session and go over all the questions and prep you for the review. And again, as you all know, we did have a very successful review last time. Only 2 findings, and they were in maintenance. We have been checking with the maintenance department, so those issues that we found last time no longer exist. And so the other areas again are preparing, so we expect to have another good review. So that's training. Any questions about training before I move on?
Yeah, just a couple. So I remember the last one, and it was mentioned that there's a comparison of the reports back and forth, our one that had more findings. Okay, that's a good one. So we had made progress from 2 times before the last, and I was wondering if you also looked at previous findings to ensure that those frequently get.
We are, and that's a good point. So in 2013, BJCTA had actually 34 findings. In 2016, the agency had, I believe it's around 16 findings. And in 2019, just 2. So we have improved greatly, and we're working with all those areas. We do look at all the findings from the previous cycles. We also look at findings from our audit reports to make sure that we're in compliance.
Any significant change in this next trial? Are they looking for different things, or have they added to?
It is very similar to last time. I will say that procurement is going to be a lot more intense. And so there are 21, procurement actually has the largest area of questions. So procurement will have 21 questions, and we have to make sure that, of course, we have all the documentation to show that we are in compliance with it. And then the next extensive area is ADA. And so, but again, after the training culminates on tomorrow, we will receive a packet of questions, follow-up questions from the review to make sure that we are ready. So the next area that I wanted to go over was human resources. And Paige will give her, our Director of Human Resources will give a report as well in her committee. But I just wanted to mention 2 things that came up last time in our meeting. We talked about the employment survey, the results from that survey, and there were two things that the agency could improve on. Employees wanted to make sure that they receive recognition, and so we're already addressing recognition. So the survey started in November, but we had a employee gala in December where we awarded and recognized a lot of our employees. So we're already working on that, as well as we are working on a management trainee program. And we're also working on resources to prepare not only individuals for training, but just working on other development skills like soft skills. So I just wanted to point out that we're already working on some of those survey results. And then in the area of compliance, Keisha is working hard on our Title VI plan or program, and then also she's gearing up for our next DBE session that would likely take place in March. And then in safety, we are working on our public safety plan. There are a few updates that we are required to make to that plan. Chris is working hard on that and pretty much has it finalized. And the board already approved the plan, and so we are uploading that to FTA as well. Any questions about any of that? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is a report from Deputy President.
Good morning.
Morning.
And you can see we're off to a fast start this year, trying to finish some of our administrative tasks that we had, triannual being the most important for this quarter, to submit things that we need to get to Stephanie so she can get those things to the FTA. So she will be our FTA contact. The good thing is I've been through triennials before, and the last one that I was in was quite interesting because they picked all my projects out of the whole company. So I have quite a bit of experience in working in that area. Also, we are working on our fair revenue policy. We're looking at, as Glenn mentioned, the various transportation modes that we now have launched, BRT, via nighttime services. And we're looking at our max mobility, and then planning session when we get to that committee. Tangi's gonna go into some detail about the BRT connections that we're gonna be making, or those changes we're gonna be making in March. And so we'll talk about the timeline for that during the planning meeting. The fair revenue policy, we probably need to review that, start looking at that in terms of all our different modes and where we might want to end up with some potential increases in the via on-demand services. Of course, not our fixed route and BRT, but we are looking at some additional revenue streams in that area since we are using now a VIP service, so to speak. And we're looking at some continued services with VIA that we may be introducing for some of our other routes to help with some of our missed trips on those routes that we have low ridership that we may be able to modify with some of those services until we get the max mobility program up and going. But we have 2 bands, we have the license plates, and so now we're gonna wrap the bands, and then we're gonna look at those sites in which we may use them for supplemental services. And you'll see in the planning session how some of the on-demand services with the city is now supplementing or helps expand some of our bus routes. So the good thing is we're working in partnership, and we will be meeting with the Transportation Committee on the 23rd to go over some of our raw data and our information that they have requested. And so we don't see any issues with getting our invoices paid. We've already talked with Chaz, with the city, the COO, who is working with us very closely. We got the contract in, and so now we're gonna be signing that contract with our changes. We're just waiting on him to get back with us. But we should have that done by the end of the week so that we can get our several $1 million invoice paid. And also mark your calendars for the faith-based luncheon, the first one with BJCTA. We have invited all of the ministers. We're going to be inviting some city councilors, and some community organizations. But it's time for Max to connect to surrounding areas so we can discuss future opportunities with TOD and economic development in those areas around the churches. We also are running a campaign for Black History Month that Sam will be talking about more in her report. It's called Stop the Violence in the Name of Love. I don't know if you all saw the news program that came on, I think it was Monday night, that talked about mothers with murdered sons and daughters, and our buses crossed several different communities, 99 neighborhoods, and we thought that it was time and very timely for us to send a message of love and stop the violence, considering our very own Watangi Peak has been impacted by this horrible thing that's going on right now in the communities. And so a lot of people have been excited and are excited about the opportunity for us to really send a message on one of our buses that is socially responsible, and also a message that we are not just the community, but we're part of the community. And so it's important for us, I think, to show support and to be a part of the community. And we're doing that through campaigns this year, and we're going to do that by working with our community stakeholders, our faith-based stakeholders. So that meeting, if you can make it, I really would appreciate your support to show a good showing from BJCTA that we are now connecting with the community as a whole. And also, we're going to be looking at, in the next several months, the BRT revenues to see what kind of revenues we are receiving big BRT. We know the ridership went well, and so we're going to see if those passenger fares match that ridership that we tracked prior to the funds. So we'll be looking at that. And then finally, there's a nationwide investment program that we're going to be launching at the end of the month. I have my town hall meetings that I will be starting for Q1 with our administrative and our union staff. And Paige will talk about some of the changes we made with some of the promotions and some changes around the administrative staff. And let me add that we were able to save money by making these changes, just by putting people in the right place where their experience matched their background. And so just by making some of these changes, we did not expand or increase the administrative budget. We actually decreased the administrative budget just by moving some key people around in key places where we absolutely need the help. And so now as well, board coordination will fall under Makisha, who will be handling the meetings with us, and Kayla, who is training under her, will be our board coordinator. And Ms. Sybil Green will now be the board person to help me with your travel arrangements and any support you may need administratively. And so Ms. Sybil Green has moved to my office, and we moved Kizzy to HR, which is her background. That's one of the examples to show that we had people with a certain experience, and we needed that experience in another area. And just by making a few switches now, we didn't have to hire in because we had the expertise in-house. And so Paige will get more into those promotions in that detail. But I would like to mention that we did make official Mr. Trey Foster, who is now our Customer Experience Director. And I think we can all agree that he has done an excellent job with our community, with our stakeholders, and ensuring that we resolve any complaints and issues that we have. And that's across the company. That's just not administratively. That's across operations. We don't care what the complaint is. If we get something in, he tracks it. It goes through a process that we will share with you later, and it goes until it's resolved. Once it's resolved, it then gets closed by some means. And so we'll get more in detail with that. And then the final thing, I just want you all to be prepared for the updates that are coming tomorrow. We are going to automate you, and you can see in the boardroom We're finishing one of our projects that has been on our capital list for a while, thanks to Dorinda. And finally getting our boardroom established with current technology and monitors and streaming and things of that nature, that you will be able to come into today's world with. And so you'll also be getting your new iPads, and you won't be getting these sheets of paper this year anymore. We're gonna automate you to where you'll have everything you need far in advance to review and be able to vote from your iPads. So with that, I think that's it just about for the Finance Committee. And any questions? Okay.
We have no items for resolution consideration or approval. Under items for information and general discussion and department reports.
Do you have the list of promotions and changes from? Okay, can I just go to that?
Hear me? Is it working? Okay, great. Good morning, everybody. So let me give you the personnel changes. Kizzy Arrington is now executive support / human resources assistant. And like the executive director said, she does have a wonderful experience in human resources, so I'm delighted to have her and plan to use her in the training function. She'll help me get together the trainings that we need for our new supervisors and for everyone for compliance. Sybil Green is now executive assistant to the CEO. Keisha Harville is now acting compliance manager and reporting to Stephanie Walker, chief of staff. Matthew Hensley is now our senior accountant. He is reporting to Glenn Dickerson, chief financial officer. Kayla Harris, board and compliance coordinator, reporting to Keisha Harville. Kelvin Bonner is now taking Trey's place in customer care. He's reporting to Tabari Foster, director of customer experience. Tommy Reeves is the acting superintendent and trainer of maintenance, now reporting to Billy Kane, maintenance manager. You want me to go ahead and report on my other issues? Okay.
And just to add, we also moved maintenance back to operations. So we wanted to give operations an opportunity under Gerald's new leadership to get established. And now that we have an IT director and we're starting to move on capital projects, we move maintenance back to operations.
And so I was just going to address a little bit of the areas of concern that Chief Walker already touched on that our Gallup survey produced for us. The concern about recognition of employees was really one of the top areas. And like Chief Walker said, we did already have our gala that recognized several employees for their achievements, for their service. We are also working on a training suite from prior where I assign courses to supervisors and employees that request it, that just help them to develop their soft skills. And will help managers learn how to do things like recognize employees. It will help in several other areas. Gallup also has its own recommendations and information about improving in that area. So I pushed that information out to several of our managers, and they're working on it. We are launching our Neogo performance evaluation, so that is going to help us with that performance evaluation system that's going to go out to all of our managers this week, and they're going to be evaluating our employees on that. And finally, we had a
Ronnie is in class for the triennial, but you'll see under the procurement, these will come up under the resolutions in another committee, but they have all been solicited and the pre-proposal conferences have been held. And so we need those extensions just so we can continue through the solicitation process that you'll see in another committee. And that's for janitorial services, pressure washing, and allied security.
We're gonna go right into the planning and program development committee meeting, Wednesday, January 18th, 2023. Want to call it to order, get a roll call.
Yes, sir. Director Carpenter?
Present.
Director Evans? Chair Smith?
Present.
Have a quorum, sir.
Need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Need a motion to approve the minutes of, you have the dates on that previous meeting, adoption of the minutes.
So this is just an item on the agenda, but you all had a committee of the
Oh,
whole
okay.
meeting, and so those minutes will be on the board.
All right, thank you. We already had the executive director's report. Chief capital planning and project delivery also updated.
Good morning. Okay, for the, first, thank you, Director Shaw, for mentioning the active project that we have going in the boardroom right now, which we anticipate completion prior to the next board meeting. Audio and visual support that is updated. Look forward to that. In the update, I mentioned that last time we had 2 sites that we were considering for the maintenance facility. We are moving forward with information for the board and putting together packets about those sites so that we can then schedule the appropriate site visits with the CEO as well. So I look forward to providing the background information and site information for those 2 sites prior to the next board meeting. We have reached out to our attorney to request access to those sites so that in the event that we decide that we want to move forward with them, we can actually go out and do the environmental testing and everything necessary to begin finding out whether or not that site works for us. For construction, as I mentioned before, our construction project manager, Lorenzo Taylor, has been working diligently to pull together all of the information for the sites, pull all of the environmental reports, and make recommendations on whether or not that site, working with the designer, will work for our needs for the maintenance facility. And we do have a recent update on the appraisals that are in progress for the east and west. One of them possibly for the east gate. I'll do a follow-up with that as well, so that we can move forward with getting those deeds transferred over from the city. So that is another one that I have Mr. Taylor heading up to follow up with our attorney and with the appraisers. And as I mentioned before, we have received some equipment. We do have a significant amount of equipment that we're still waiting for delivery on for our BRT stations. Our new BRT stations are not fully equipped for us to function yet until all of that equipment is delivered and procured by the city so that we can receive it. So we have reached out to the city to ask for the status of those purchases. And next step, we did reach out to Wendell, our design team, to ensure that if we in fact can move forward on these sites, that the plans mentioned last time, we did go live with our TVM machines at all the BRT stops. We are working on go live issues as would be expected for some working and some having glitches and addressing those as those come up. And so that is in progress. Any questions on that?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
These monitors and things, they'll be able to bring in people like on Zoom meeting from somewhere.
Yes, all the monitors will be. We have all of them connected. We'll be able to Zoom and see and present visuals as well as live stream. And they are connected to the internet, to where we've hardwired them to the network, so we don't have to worry about Wi-Fi.
Yes, I had one. So the two potential sites that we're considering, do we have any form of site control at this point? Do we have an LOI in place with the sellers or anything like that?
That's what we've reached out to ask for. We have not yet, but the attorney did send the letter. I anticipate, I requested to have a response from them for site access, and we put an LOI in place as well. It's included in the letter that she wrote. I've asked for a response within 7 days from those site owners so that we can move forward as quickly as possible. Any other questions?
None for me?
I can provide one additional update if you don't, the IT update. So a couple of things internally in our infrastructure, we've been working, as we mentioned, on updates to our infrastructure being our network. And we have completed, from our update from our IT director, on-site and off-site backups of our existing network infrastructure, 95% complete. We've continued planning and our progress for our Microsoft Office 365 configuration. As I mentioned before, we were moving from on-prem to the cloud. We moved all of our email boxes, as mentioned before, to the cloud, and now we're in the process of configuring all of those boxes, which includes, for example, your email profile. Of course, you can add images and photos and profile phone numbers, as well as a hierarchy that shows who you report to within that structure in Microsoft Outlook. So now everyone can access Outlook on the web. We are building that back end as well as being able to set up their Teams environment and everything else. And there will be training for all of the staff and the board on how to use those products. Additionally, we have antivirus protection we put in place, which will actually be completed by this Friday. We did a new install to replace the old Rico printers, which now, as I mentioned, we're also adding badge access so that you have to badge to print and you have more privacy so that your items aren't just sitting there on the printer, as well as control print jobs. Email security completion by the end of January 31st. Cybersecurity awareness training, we're targeting cybersecurity awareness training by 2/28. So by February 28th, we'll have that completed, ready to go, so you'll get invites, the staff will. And finally, sure.
Any more questions for Mr. Gomes? Thank you for your report. We have a plan update.
Yeah, so, Martin, if you would just bring one change up at a time, where is your team? Yeah, can you all bring up what the ones you might talk about first? So, we really want to walk you through these BRT changes. You have them in your package, and they're also being diligent so that you can refer to them. But it's really key that you understand the changes that are about to come up. We will be discussing these changes with the union. I saw Phil somewhere sitting in here, but we will be talking about this more. But this is just one phase of several phases, and so, we launched the BRT, now we're looking at connections, right? And so after connections, then we'll start looking at how we can modify the services. But for right now, we got 5 of them, it's very important, and so you can bring one of them to the front. And Watanji can walk you through these, and if you have any questions, now's the time to really, you know, and we could talk about this separately, but now's the time to really delve into what these connections are.
Good morning and Happy New Year to all the board members. And good morning, Director Shaw, the chiefs, and our other BJCTA staff and guests. Before I go into the route connectivities, I just want to kind of give some data and just kind of give you some update on some other things. First, I want to introduce the planning staff because I have worked for many months and probably some years by myself. So I do have now a senior planner who is now assisting Director Shaw, and his name is Adamola. And I have a planner one who is Ms. Brittany Thomas, who has basically been at BJCTA, started off as a bus operator, went to supervision, and then she went over to safety and training. So I am excited to have a planning staff now, some individuals that I can lean on, and now they can help me to be able to advance the department forward. For the last few months, you all have received in your board package these BRT connectivity routes. I put them in there for a reason, so you all can become comfortable with it before I start walking you through them. Like Director Shaw said, I'm here this morning to kind of walk you through route by route, but I want to kind of talk about why all of this is happening. The Birmingham Express started back in September 22 of last year. The service has been doing really great. We have been averaging about 13,000 boardings per month. Boardings are the number of passengers that are actually getting on the bus. Those are the ridership statistics that we share with NTD and all the others, because they look at more boardings versus the people who are getting off. For years, this organization has operated a rate-out type system, which means that all of your central point is in one central location, which is Central Station. Now that we have the bus rapid transit system on board, we do have 2 other facilities that now we can use to connect routes closest to those facilities. So that is what I'm talking about today. So why connectivity? For one, the operation plan and white paper the BRT spoke about how you're supposed to remove your existing max fixed route service off of the existing corridor of the BRT. So we're doing that. We're beginning to make those strides to do that. Of course, we had to get the service up and running before we made a determination on what routes need to go where. Now, this is just phase 1 because we have other routes that we need to look at that will also make a connection, but this is just one of many phases of BRT connectivity. So let's walk through. And you all have the handouts as well. So the Route 7 is a new route that will be served by the City of Birmingham, of course, and Fairfield. Right now, the existing Fairfield trips are on the Route 5. So what we've done to make this a more connectivity route, more reliable, we have placed the existing Fairfield trips on a bus by itself. Right now, Fairfield receives 3 AM trips and 3 PM trips. We're gonna mirror that same type service because, as you know, Fairfield has struggled for a while, with maintaining their services. Years ago, we used to provide service to Fairfield, but of course, we eliminated that service. But back in 2019, Jefferson County came to transit, and they had money on the table to help cities like Fairfield, Brighton, Lipscomb, all over. And Fairfield and Adamsville were the only 2 cities that kind of bent into it. The goal was this: it started off as a pilot for Fairfield and Adamsville. The goal was, if the Jefferson County Commissioners put in money, that at the end of the pilot, it's up to the cities that they wanted to maintain that service. So we went back to each city, and at the end of it, Fairfield decided to keep the service. But of course, they still had to make sure that service was affordable. So what we had to do was sit around the table and decide what was the best way to build this service for them. So right now, the existing Fairfield trips are on the Route 5 Ensley, which goes to Wylam, but there's a back road that you can take and connect you to Fairfield. So that's what it does now. With this new proposal for BRT connectivity, this route will start at the Arenal, Dollar Tree, and then it will end at the West Terminal station. And it's still three trips in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. Now, one good thing about this, Fairfield are already aware of this. We talked about this about a year or so ago with them, and they were on board with it. It's still giving the same level of service, but more flexible, and now with connectivity options. So I can entertain questions now, we can wait till I go through all of them, if you have questions about individual routes.
This replaces Route 5.
No, Route 5 will still service Ensley, Wiley, but it would just remove the Fairfield trips.
And note that it actually, so this is one of those connection points to the West Terminus, where BRT is actually working the way it's supposed to.
So the next route is the Route 17, the famous route. So right now, this route travels to Central Station. But the goal for the new route that started in March is going to become a shuttle. It will start from the East Transit Center and still making stops in Mark Village, Russell Circles, in the Eastwood Festival, Walmart, where it ends. Better connectivity, it will no longer come to Central Station, but I'll talk about the route that will service a part of Fairfield, part of the 17 that will connect to the BRT. This route now will be a 45-minute frequency. Right now it's a little over an hour. It has 2 buses on it, but this will now take it to 3 buses. So they have 3 buses, Monday through Friday, every 45 minutes, which is going to be better connectivity for the riders and just all the people that's on that end of the east. Any questions about the 17?
Now, this is one too that we had previous concerns of missed trips, remember? And so now this is one of those efficiency where it's gonna go to Woodline, it's 45 minutes, and we're actually looking at even some greater efficiencies on this one if we can gain some bus operators in some of the other low ridership routes that we may consider modifying or enhancing in some way to pick up more drivers. So the 17th is on our radar to ensure that we do not leave any riders. In our new campaign that's coming out in the future, no rider left behind. Okay, so this one's very key.
The next route is Route 25 Centerpoint. Right now, the 25 Centerpoint travels from Central Station and travels down First Avenue to Roebuck to Centerpoint, whereas we all know the BRT travels down First Avenue North. So what this route is going to do now is just going to kind of revert itself. For the updates, it will cross over 20th Street and to go down, well, cross over Mars to 20th and to go down 3rd Avenue. It's going to replace what the 17 is doing right now from Central Station. It is going to connect up through Avondale and through Georgia Road, serve the east, going back to, you got BRT now, you got 25, now the 17. 3 routes that are serving one location now. People can connect from different places to go where they need to go. And then this route will continue through Roebuck and it'll continue to Centerpoint. And it's gonna be also 3 buses, right now it's 2 buses. As you all know, back in 2019, BJCTA cut 37% of the routes because of the funding that we received from the city of Birmingham. And when that happened, there was a lot of routes that were kind of merged into one. This is one of them. We used to have a 28 Southeast Lake bus that kind of serves a great part of the 25. So we had to kind of be creative, put all these different neighborhoods into one route now. And it is very complicated. When I tell you that you got these infrequent patterns that we're gonna get rid of, people who are coming into the city should know how to plan for transit. If you look at our existing schedules, it's hard. You got a time here, a skip here, a time here, that is going away. We will no longer have services like that again. I mean, not as long as I'm here anyway. So we got to get away from that so we can attract people to our systems. As the communities are developing, especially Woodline and even just downtown, we got to attract people to the system. And the only way you can do that is by creating these simplified, I call them simplified patterns. They're very direct, and people know exactly what time the bus is coming every day. And you know, if it's at 5:50, it's gonna be 6:50, 7:50, but it won't be no 5:50, 6:15, 7:26. You just can't plan your day like that. And that's the way a lot of our routes are built today. I can tell you some history why, but I'm not gonna get into that today. But anyway, now this service will have 3 buses instead of 2, and it's gonna be a 45-minute frequency as well. And this is really gonna help a lot of people in the city of Centerpoint. And just why, as I'm talking about it, we have, Director Shaw wanted me to overlay the existing 25 and 17 with the expanded Birmingham on-demand zone that they have expanded to the east. The 25 right now, and we'll probably be talking to Sam about this, how we can market this with VIA. A lot of our riders right now can get access to they get access to this service right now. So we have parts of the 25 that's gonna be kind of cut off, on this modification. Right now, we service the Eastern Health Clinic. Well, in March, the Eastern Health Clinic will no longer be served by the 25. But if you look at the existing VIA on-demand service, it serves all of that and then some. They can also go to St. Vincent East, where right now we have no fixed route service that serves that hospital. So I think that's gonna be something really great that the public can now, it's more flexible, it's more reliable. Of course, they would still have to get to an existing bus stop, but that's typically how you design your VIA service, your microtransit anyway. Yes, sir.
I was wondering, are we gonna change some signage and some other things on the website to accommodate this?
We're working on a whole marketing advertising plan for this, and we just wanted to make sure we present it first, but yes, we are. We're gonna be changing the website to reflect, we're gonna be changing mobile apps to reflect. We're going to be working with the city of Birmingham, who we're partnering with, because this is their VIA expansion that you see in this pink, and we'll be working with them to advertise the system together. And so that's one of the good things that this partnership is bringing, that we're co-branding together, because we have the night services and they have the expanded services. But as you can see, where it overlaps our bus stops, we can advertise that together. And Trey's gonna be working with our customer service team to help people properly plan their trips. So this is gonna be part of our No Rider Left Behind campaign, where if you do miss a bus, or if there is a missed trip because of our work shortage issues, we can coordinate, help you coordinate those services with VIA. We don't do it, but at least we know how to help you do that, to make sure that if you miss a route or miss a trip, you can catch VIA in this area as well. So we'll be working together as a consolidated effort with the marketing efforts.
I have a quick question about the 25. Could you speak to the deviation from the logic of not duplicating the BRT route? Instead of this one ending at the Woodlawn Transit System, it shows that it then continues on to Central Station, unlike some of the others?
Yes, because we still want to have something that served from the east to central and not just the BRT. Being that these are, the 25, the 17, these are kind of like your high ridership routes. We didn't want to put the biggest impact on the BRT. We want people to transfer to BRT, but also we didn't want to cut off that access to the Avondale community, which is really big. The workshop is on 3rd Avenue. If we did not service that, where you have a lot of people that are, disabled, that rides that bus, they're really dependent on the 17 now, whereas they're not depending on the 88 services. So we wanted to make sure that we still service that our portion of the route.
Great, thank you.
All right, last but not least, the Route 48. Right now, the Route 48 travels from Central, goes down 18 to 6th Avenue South. And then it continues down 6th Avenue South through into South Powderly. This route will no longer come to Central Station. Riders can still catch the tail end of the route and still serve South Powderly, the Cooper Green community, but it will end at the BRT, one of the BRT platforms, and on 6th Avenue South and Goldwire. and basically turn around. Now the riders would have to, they would have to connect to BRT at that platform to continue their trip to Central Station. Like I said, one great advantage of a lot of these routes are this: people do not have to come all the way to Central if they want to go to the west. They can connect up on 6th Avenue South. As a matter of fact, they can come from Centerpoint all the way to the west now, instead of stopping at Central Station. And that is the goal that we're trying to make here. I know we have a big route that we have to really work on. That's that Route 45 that serves Bellsman Superhighway. That is just going to be a beast within itself, because one of the things about that 45 route is you cannot cut off the Birmingham access. 3rd Avenue North is a big, it's really big. A lot of riders catch that bus down there, so we have to be very creative in how we really design what the routes look like for the future. But of course, it already has the connectivity. It just don't come into the west. We can bring it into the west if we want and bring it back to Bellsman Superhighway, but it only makes the route longer. So right now, they just have to get off right there at Bellsman Superhighway 47 and kind of just walk to BRT. That's the choice they have now. But we'll be bringing the connectivities back, those connectivities back to the board at a later date. Any questions? Thank you.
Aren't you excited about the changes? I know, I'm jumping out of my seat right now with, the BRT is actually doing what it was meant to do. And we're seeing the fruit of this system now actually come into being. So hopefully you'll get a few less issues or complaints or concerns on the 17 and the 25.
So I forgot to mention, when would all this start? March 6th is our date to go. So now that we have brought this before the board, we'll work with our marketing communications team to create public meetings. We'll put our public notices to the public, because now we have to teach them how to connect. That's going to be the goal. And we'll have time to do that all of February, and then we can roll the services out March 6th.
Thank you. Any more questions? I want to say I'm glad that some of the routes are going down to 45 minutes. My ultimate goal is 30 minutes at least. So we still push it, still trying to get there. All right. We have no resolutions to consider. Items from information or discussion, department reports, marketing first, I think.
Good morning to Chair Smith, the board, Director Shaw, and our chiefs this morning. Several of the items on the marketing agenda have been mentioned. I will start with talking about connectivity, which is something that Director Pete Finney spoke on. And the marketing team will be working to go out into the communities and educate to take this same message. We're working very closely about connectivity and how they can ride and the changes that are going to be made in an easy, simple way for them to understand. And also educating them on the various types of service that we provide, so that based on their trip and the type of trip that they're taking, they can decide which service to select. And as Director Shaw mentioned, Trey is going to be assisting with that as well on the customer service side, but the marketing team will be assisting with putting together materials, putting that on social media and all of the other areas so that we can communicate that. We are also working towards Black History Month, which is coming up in February, so that's going to be a busy month for us. On February the 7th, we will have the base luncheon. Director Shaw spoke on that, and then following that luncheon, we will be unveiling the Black History Bus, which features this year on Stop the Violence in the Name of Love. We did have the opportunity on Monday to do a segment with Sherry Jackson on CBS 42 to do a little tease and feature Ms. Pink Finney, and we are going to be placing that online today. We just received it today, so you'll be able to see it there. We are also looking at our planning for the year as far as how we continue to elevate the Max brand and how we continue to share our rebranding and working on Director Shaw's mission, vision, and values and sharing those internally and externally with the community. And also executing the No Rider Left Behind campaign that's being managed by Chief Alford. So all of these things will be coming up, and we look forward to presenting more to you as they come forward. And at this time, do you have any questions?
I have one question. I know that there's been some changes in our arrangements for the board members meeting here for after. I wanted to see if I could get with somebody to make sure we're on track for that.
Okay.
We need a video done too of our services and of the city to try to bring them in when they come. So we need to coordinate all that.
So let's talk about your goals for that, and then we'll meet separately. You, myself, and Director Sam, along with our event coordinator, so that we can make sure that we're in place for that. So we'll schedule something for you next week. No, the city is not aware yet. I think we need to have discussions with APTA, who will help us advertise that as well, and what their goals and what their plans are to help with that advertisement. And I think we need to sit down now. I know they schedule everything just about like the hotel, they take care of all that kind of stuff. But now we need to talk about the implementation.
Yeah, so we need to know their timelines and things that we can
Yep.
stick in. So let's get together soon.
Okay, we'll schedule something for next week.
I have an additional question. For the people that aren't going to be present in like the town hall type meetings where you're doing the on-site training for the route changes or how to plan a trip, is there going to be like an online tutorial step-by-step of how to plan your trip that maybe can be available through YouTube and social media?
Yes, we're definitely looking into providing that so that, you know, people don't have to be on site in that meeting. And so that we're looking at putting a landing page that will just specifically speak to the connectivity and how that impacts their travel. And they can learn that things.
Thank you.
And I think it's going to be important that we're trying to find funding for an actual commercial like the BRT lunch commercial. One of the reasons we think it did so well in ridership in the first couple of weeks was because of that commercial. So I'd like to see us try to do a Max commercial with all our different modes of transportation now and what that looks like. And we just have to narrow it down to 30 seconds. And how long is a commercial? About 30 seconds? But, you know, we did it for BRT, so we're going to do the same thing for Max.
And I believe you had mentioned putting information on the buses so the current ridership would be made aware as soon as possible and could plan accordingly.
Yes, and we can have that information on the buses. We can also utilize our kiosks. Our Birmingham Express kiosks are great for any message that we want to share. So we can put that as well, that there as well. And we're looking at purchasing our media now that we have our message. We're purchasing radio and print in other areas that we will start to share that message as well.
All right, any more questions? Ms. Sun? Thank you, Ms. Sun. We're looking at the grants department. Somebody don't have a report?
In addition to preparing for triennial, as I mentioned earlier, we're also still coordinating with the city of Birmingham on the RAISE grant. And that grant is going to look at super stops in the downtown corridor. We're working with the transportation department at the city to be exact. And more information about the exact scope of that will be made available, soon. The other thing that we're working on in grants or another large project, we talked about the $13.6 million award that we won for the maintenance facility. Well, 25% of that award was allocated toward buses, which equates to roughly $3.4 million. So we're working with the maintenance department and New Flyer on specifications for those buses. Any questions about that? Thank you.
One other question. The rest of the maintenance facility grant, are you still working on that?
Okay, yes, so the breakdown of the grant again is 25% is allocated toward vehicles, which equates to $3.4 million. And then there's a component for workforce development, which is around 5%. The remaining balance, roughly 9-point-something million, is for pre-construction activities, land acquisition, feasibility studies, etc. And yes, we are working on that. Chief McCombs can give more of an update of where we are on that. Any other questions?
That's it.
Thank you.
You got customer care? Their report.
Good morning, Chair Smith and Board of Directors and Director Shaw. I just have a few announcements from the customer care team. First, I want to say I'm so thankful for the opportunity to serve as the Director of Customer Experience, and just look forward to the great things ahead. So I'm so thankful to our CEO for entrusting me with this opportunity, and I'm humbled by this. Thank you so much. In regards to the customer care department, we received 18,000 in the fixed route call center. They received 18,642 calls. They abandoned 1,125 of those calls, which left an abandonment rate of 6%. The abandonment rate goal is 10%. Had a service level in fixed route of 84%, and the goal is to answer 70% of calls in 30 seconds. In regards to the paratransit call center, there were 9,408 calls that were presented to the call center, and they abandoned 6% of those calls. And there was an 80% abandonment rate in the paratransit call center last month. Also, we are preparing for customer service soft skills training. We updated our quality program. It's more rigorous, and it will help us serve our customers better. So I announced last month that we were working on a new quality program for customer care. And so it's when you call in, we have a grading form, not only in the call centers, but when you go into the transit centers, it's a way of making sure we're holding our agents accountable accountable to give them professional and great customer service. We're preparing also for the route enhancements training. We'll be training our team to make sure they are able to answer any questions that our riders have, so that this transition and these changes are easier for them and that it's not a headache. So we want to make sure they understand the great changes that are coming and how it will help us better serve them. We have here also, we had a Vanity Project employee that announced that had been in workforce development training last month, and they were with us 8 weeks, and we did hire that employee. So we're very excited that she was able to come on board, and she's done very well and accepted our feedback, and she's just been a star on the team. So we're very excited that she will be starting with us soon as a BJCTA employee. And those are my, I almost said announcements, we're not a church, those are my updates.
Any questions? I have one question for you. Operators, who's responsible for improving their customer care?
Well, what we're doing, as even in this new role, I will be partnering with operations to make sure that we do improve that. So we do, I know we have heard even riders' concerns, and we're working to do that. Even in my new duties, I'll be working with the operations department to make sure that's happening.
So Trey is working on the total experience for a rider, from the customer service to ops, internally and externally. So in his new role, he will really be responsible for ensuring that the total experience is where we want it to be as far as our goals are concerned, with our mission and vision statement, connecting people And then, you know, making sure that we're courteous and all that, those kinds of things. So in his new role, he will really be moving toward working more with the stakeholders and the riders themselves.
Thank you, Secretary. We have any old business? Have any new business? Planning Programs Development Committee meeting has been adjourned.
I'd like to move to the Operations Committee meeting. Call this meeting to order. Can we do a roll call, establishment of a quorum?
Yes, ma'am. Director Cunningham? Director Minor? Director Coker?
Present.
We have a quorum, ma'am.
Move on to item 3, adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion? Second. Pass. All in favor? Pass. Move on to the adoption of the minutes from,
It's going to be the same as the last, it's
Okay.
committee of the whole.
Committee of the Whole. Can I get a motion to adopt minutes? Second. All in favor? Move on to, it passes. Moving on to option 5. Sorry, I've been a little under the weather. I'm not contagious. Can we get the Chief of Operations update?
Sure. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Stanley Langston's not here today. I want to keep his family in prayers, actually. His mother's ill, but in the interim, Alan Purdue is going to give a report of operations. But I want to still a little thunder, because in the report you find out that on-time performance is coming up. So, President Fix Road. As far as the total number of new hires that were completed training for the month of December, Fix Route had a total of 3. Paratransit had 7, that's a total of 10. Currently in training, that's a total of 5 fixed route operators that are in training right now. And Paratransit has 2. Over the past 2 months, that brings those totals actually to a total of 8 additional fixed route driver positions created, along with 9 paratransit drivers as well. As far as the facilities department, right here, these guys behind me, these my guys actually, he too has been here about 18 months now. I think I met these guys before Betty when they helped get my office set up, and they did a great job. That's all I them, and of course Will here too. Thanks, Will, for what you've done. But these 2 guys have been promoted actually, so we can give them a hand actually. Standing here in front of you, right behind me, actually, they're both been promoted to lead technicians. The first one is Terrence Jackson. That's Terrence right there. Terrence actually has been employed here at BJCT for 5 years. And he's going to be assigned to 8th Avenue. And his certifications and experience includes HVAC, Junior certification, and forklift certifications. Also, he has experience in commercial refrigeration, small electrical, plumbing, landscaping, and painting. Gerard, next to him, is actually, he's been here 9 years. And he will be assigned to the BRT, both East and West. His certifications include Junior certification and forklift. Experiences in plumbing, small electrical, and landscaping. Again, both these guys have been doing an outstanding job. Congrats to both of you. Thank you. Last but not least, I know we've been hearing a lot about training. Well, Ops is doing a lot of training as well. And upcoming training for the both departments will include developing emotional intelligence, and that'll be a course that they're working on right now that's going to be facilitated to dispatchers, managers, and supervisors. Refresher training, we're developing a schedule for that for drivers, and that's really important to me because, you know, of course, you stand on time as far as the buses going around the city. So some of the examples of that training is going to include customer service, of course. Trey talked about it earlier, time point checks, which is really important, and as well as effective dispatch communication as well. And finally, as far as facilities, they will be going through some training within the next month. And those courses will include Custodians will be janitorial cleaning services, cleaning certifications. Examples of those certifications will include green cleaning and chemical hazards. And the technicians, both the lead and the regular technicians, will be receiving OSHA training as well. So that concludes my report. You have any questions?
Any questions? Thank you. We move on to the next item, Executive Director's Report.
I do want to give them a little sneak preview on the No Rider Left Behind. I know we're still fleshing that out, but can you kind of give the board an overview of where we're going with that?
Yeah, definitely. I was waiting to do this, to be honest with you, just kind of mentioned about something. We've been talking about it and we're working right now. No Rider Left Behind, actually, we have 6 goals, actually, that we're working to accomplish. Those goals will include adequate and sustainable coverage for all routes, Monday through Saturday, secure additional drivers, which is very important, travel training for both fixed route and paratransit, establish a riders advisory council, increase customer service, which we've talked about already, and finally increase marketing efforts. And bringing all those together will encompass the concept of No Rider Left Behind. The great team that's in place right now is more than just us trying to pull this off. That team actually consists of operations, transit department, Chief Combs, ADA compliance, customer service, planning, and marketing. Because we're looking at this, we realize it's bigger than just one department. So we're all working collectively to accomplish those goals.
Any questions? Anything from the Director's Report?
No.
Next item, Operations and Maintenance Facility update.
I think she gave that report under the administration, when we talked about the land and the maintenance facility. Okay.
Next item, Vehicle Maintenance update.
Good morning, Director. Okay, for December inspection on time performance, our picture out was 95%. Inspection completed, our BRT is 100%, 7 inspection completed, paratransit's 92%, 25% completed, sport vehicles are 98%, 3 completed. Roll call for December, picture out was 20, 7 mechanicals, 8 non-mechanicals, 5 accidents, 19,395 miles between roll calls. Our BRT was one accident. Miles between roll calls for BRT is 18,447. Our paratransit is 1 mechanical. Our miles between roll calls was 84,324. The picture out, we rebuilt 2 engines, and units 1901 and 1907. 1 accident, waiting on the insurance to release. 4 buses being repaired and accident damage. 1 transmission down under warranty. 1 bus held CDL training. 66 buses that served as of 12/31/22. BRT, 1 accident, no damage, back in service. 1 BRT bus down, waiting on a window, and 10 in service. Our paratransit, 1 engine replaced on unit 1706. 1 accident, waiting on the insurance to release. 1 bus off the property for engine repair. 31 paratransit in service. The fiscal years for 2023, we have spent 22%. And acknowledge the anniversary of these employees that have dedicated years of service for the agency is Ellie Baez, 20 years, Darrell Grant, 12 years, Tommy Travis, 8 years, and Leon Boswell, 2 years. That includes my report. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you. We'll move on to the next item. Anything for the operations update?
Again, good morning, Director. Our operations report for the month of December would include our fixed route staffing. We were staffed with 67 operators, and our budgeted number is 108. For paratransit, we had a total of 37 operators. Our budgeted number is 40. As the COO had already alluded to, our on-time performance, for fixed route, it was up to 70% in the month of December, and that was up 3% from the previous month. On-time performance for paratransit in December was 62%, and that was up 14% from the previous month. Any other questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is safety update.
Good morning, and
Morning.
I'll be brief because most of what I wanted to update has kind of been touched on by each department. But as Chief Africa was saying, when it came down to the training, it's a lot of collaboration. And coming up in the next, we do have a training schedule that we went over. We finish up our alcohol and drug training this month. Next will be assault awareness and de-escalation for our operators. I've also reached out to Ms. Harvey for our ADA sensitivity training, and also reached out to Director Trey so that we can, they will help with the customer service piece for our operators. So we have a lot of trainings coming up, and if I'm not mistaken, today, Sam White's gone to two operators to finish CDL training. So we have it. Thank God we have a Mr. B with our CDL training, get them in, get them trained, and pass, and we have fully, what's the word, endorsed CDL operators. And that's, like I said, that's what's going on. I'm glad to see that it's still effective, because not knowing what it takes to get everybody learning the different speeds or whatever, and it may seem like it's easy, but get everybody on board. And we have some people come in and they don't have anything. This is the first time they see the commercial vehicle. But like I said, thankful that the program is going, it's really effective, and we're graduating students. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions? Thank you. The next item is resolutions for consideration and approval.
Yes, ma'am. Resolution 2023-20, approval of a resolution granting authority to the executive director / CEO or her designee to extend the time period of the contract between Birmingham Jefferson County Transit Authority and Allied Universal Security, formerly G4S Secure Solutions, for security services until May 31st, 2023.
Do we have any discussion on this? Director Shaw, this was in order to extend our agreement with the security firm until May. Okay.
Yes.
Can I get a motion? Second. All in favor, say aye. Resolution passes. Resolution B.
Yes, ma'am. Resolution 2023-21, approval of a resolution granting authority to the executive director, CEO, or her designee to extend the time period of the contracts between Birmingham Jefferson County Transit Authority and CJ Pressure Cleaning, Inc. until May 31st, 2023.
Any discussion? And again, Director, this is just the extension for the claim until May.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I get a motion? Second. All in favor? Aye. Resolution passes. Resolution C.
Resolution 2023-22, approval of a resolution granting authority for the executive director, CEO, or her designee to extend the time period of the contracts between the Birmingham Jefferson County Transit Authority and Hills Janitorial Services, Inc. until May 31st, 2023.
Any discussion? Can I get a motion? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Resolution passes. The next item is items for information and or discussion. Item A is department reports, transit asset management.
No report.
No report. ADA. Any old business? Any new business? Motion to adjourn? Second, all in favor say aye. Aye.